Hey YouTube, I'm Chris, and today I wanted to show you this extremely rare Olimpia, otherwise known as a Olimp Mark 005, C as in cat, reel-to-reel tape machine. This was made in 1990, and I bought this off of eBay from a eBay seller who lived in Belarus, Russia. So it is a used machine, but it has been gone through pretty well. And it's got new heads that I can show you. The electronics have been worked through, and I'll show you that as well. And so we're going to see if this thing's going to work. I'm going to see if there's a way I can get this to power up and work, and maybe play some tapes and do some other things. And so if I zoom in here, you can see here that it's all in Russian. But thanks to the Google Translate app on the phone, we can go ahead and we can get that to pretty much, if it's going to work. It keeps on wanting to, environmental protection. Yeah, I mean, I would guess if it's, coming from the Soviet Union. But with this Google Translate, sometimes it will, pretty much work. It will translate, kind of. I mean, and I did have it translating pretty well the last time I used it. So, but anyways, I can use this. I can kind of get an idea as to what all of the different things are saying here. And so it is an Olimp. If it wants to translate correctly, it will tell me it's an Olimp 005C. It's a direct drive, stabilization, speed, microprocessor management, and it's got a search function. And here, and typically or normally that would say, there we go, made in the USSR there. And so then over here we got this keypad, and I think it's like software management. And then I've got these other little buttons here, and sometimes they will translate, sometimes they won't, but I think one's like a review. And let's see if I can get that to steady a bit more. I think one's like a review, search. So it's only when I want to record this on YouTube, it never wants to translate correctly. And it was working one time I was using this. And so I think one's a search, and so I don't know. We got some other ones, and then you have it does do auto reverse all on it, and it's got a function. And so when I do have this all translated correctly here on the phone, I have a pretty good idea as to what the buttons do. It's just a matter of just kind of going through it and seeing all what they do. And then we get down here, we have got a volume at the volume control, and that's a control. I think it's like that might be a channel control, and those, I think it's like a left and right, or channel A, channel B, something like that. And then we have correction of the speed, and we got like 3 different choices there. So I think that's a correction for speed. And then we have another left, right. This is a rate of speed, 19 inches per second, or 9 inches per second. And then we get reproduction, left or right. And then here is, I believe it's recording level for those, where you have the the right or left on that. And these are not the original knobs. As you can see, I just put those on there because the old ones that I have that came with the machine were just not staying on. So I was trying to go with something that would stay on a lot better and actually turn. And then we got the all these different symbols here. I do know that this one is a reverse play, and I think this is a pause, and this is record, and this is forward play, fast forward, stop. That might be a search or a jog, and then that's rewind. And so we have those, and those are kind of sort of self-explanatory, just a matter of just kind of going through. And then we have the very, very nice LED display and VU light meter, lights all up, electronic. And so let's go ahead and we'll turn this around. You can see the inside of it. And before we do that, these are the original knobs, and they just don't seem to stay on the little shafts very well. They seem like they want to keep falling off and not turn very well. So I took these off, and I could probably use some, I don't know, paint or something like that to make them stay on. But then if I need to take off a panel, then it makes it more difficult. So I thought I would go ahead, and I got these original knobs all off of my existing TIAC machines. And so the black ones fit on there fine. The black ones are the best ones that fit on there. Just the front ones I have trouble with. And so those little smaller knobs, they stay on, but not really all that well. So let's go ahead and we'll get this turned around here. And this is the back of the machine. And so this is this is for the plug. And this does come off. This does, if need be, this does pull off of there. And you got the little fuses, extra fuses in there. And that just snaps right in place. So that's kind of neat how they did that. And then we have the other end of the plug here. We got that. So we're gonna try to find something to plug this into and make this work. But for right now, we'll take that off so you can see a little bit better. So we do have the. This is one of the real hubs. It's all AC motor, and I checked the brakes on it. The brakes are set pretty well. That's a major power supply. This is the electric coil. And then you got the little extra fuses in here, and followed by another AC motor. And there's no belts with this old machine at all. It's all, every one of these motors are independently tuned to run independently of the other, and it's all set all up, tuned with each other just correctly. So there's no belts. And so here we have this, one of these really large boards, and you can see get some really large chips in here. This might be one of the boards that operates the LCD display and the timer. It might also do some logic stuff on it too. So as you can see there, it's pretty complicated for coming from the USSR. And one of these chips, maybe that one or this one, those might very well be the Soviet censorship chip. That's where if it detects any kind of westernized music, it's set to either shut the machine off or maybe it's go into auto disposal mode. So hopefully one of those have been disconnected, so we don't have to worry about a machine melting down when I'm playing westernized music all on it here a little later if we get this thing running. And then here on the bottom, I believe, is the audio. And this is all of the input-output jacks. And let's see if I can remember which one does what here. Because what they do is they give you the little symbols. And so I had to do some research to figure out what the little symbols meant. So it looks like this one is for recorder input, and this one might be for output, I believe. No, it's either that or microphone. And this one is for stereo microphone. That's what it is. So that's microphone in, microphone input, stereo microphone input. This one is for input output. So this will do playback and record through one cable, and this is output only. And so I do have a special cable that I bought from the UK, and I'll plug right into this, and that will allow me to play back and record all through one thing. So I won't necessarily need all the rest of those. And so then I was told from the seller on eBay that all of these little capacitors have all been replaced by a friend of his, and so it's probably a lot better than me, because as you can see, if I'm able to kind of zoom up here and if it will focus in, everything is just pretty much surface soldered in, and it's both sides of the board have solder traces and all of those other kinds of things. So it looks like wherever there was a electrolytic capacitor, it was replaced, but like that one and that one. But these capacitors are not Nichicon. They seem to have some kind of a Russian writing on them, so I don't know, or I'm not sure what brand or type of what brand the capacitors are, but I'm hoping that they're going to be lasting a good long while. And so I believe this is for the audio input output. And then we got this really large solenoid here, and this one, I think this one operates the this solenoid here, that operates the pinch roller and the tape guides, and I'll show you that. And then we have this, and with all of these little adjustments here, this might also be another part of the audio board, but it's hard to say because I do have the instructions. I got the owner's manual, but it's all in Russian, and there's really no good way for me to try to get that translated to know all what does with what. So pretty much in the dark if anything was to go wrong on this thing. And so we got quite a lot of chips in here, and logic chips, I would guess. So I would guess this might also do some logic stuff and audio. And then we also have up here those three large capacitors, and those have been replaced as well with new. And so I don't know if I'm going to be able to zoom up on that or not, so you can see. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that real good as to what that might be, a Jamaican or something, whatever. But anyway, so as far as I know, it's their Russian made capacitors. And so also, by the way, this is for a remote. A remote would plug in this connector here, and so if I could find another very, very rare infrared remote control, it would plug in here to control the machine and all the different functions. And so the wires for that go into this board here as part of the logic. So that's pretty much that. This thing is pretty light. It's because it's just, and this is for the this is the motor for the capstan, by the way. Another independent AC motor. So all three motors run independently of the other, but yet they still run at the correct way. So there's no belt, no belts to mess with or anything like that. And so we'll get this turned back around here, and I can show you the heads all on it. Alright, well, I'll take that little plastic cover off, and this is the heads, and I know that's got a light, and I'm not sure what that light does. I know, I'm not sure what it lights up exactly, but it might shine into this, and looks like it might be some kind of maybe a light sensor or something like that. So I'll figure out later what that might do. And let's see, I don't know if you'll be able to see. really all that well, but I'm not really quite sure either exactly what each head does. But that black one, that's probably I'm going to guess it's an erase head. And got that one. And I was told that these are all brand new heads, and so when I tilted the machine over and got a really good look at these heads, I mean, I could tell they are brand new, and they've only been maybe played maybe just once or twice as a test. Kind of see, get an idea a little bit on that one. So really nice looking clean heads. Made sure they were good and clean. So that's pretty much the machine there. This, I'll put that back on. And then we have this back panel that I took off earlier, and I'll see if I can get my Google Translate. But it's an app you can use for a machine like this if you do happen to find one or buy one. I'm not sure why it's not really working for me today. It was working just fine when I first used it on this machine. It was able to correctly translate everything I wanted. So here we have this. Let's see. I'm trying to get my thing here to work again. It's not going to work. Finally. Alright, so we have, again, I don't know if it's going to come up here. Olympus or Olimpia, and that will tell you like the date, a factory number, article number. So it's either an Olimpia or an Olympias. And anyway, so there's that, and this will tell you to disconnect the power cord pretty much before you open the panel. And you can see it's 220 volt, 50 hertz at 100 watts, or yeah, 100 watts. And I can take out in the garage as I might very well have something that will make this machine work properly. As you can see, it's 50 hertz, and so if I really wanted to, I could have an electrician come in here and directly wire in a 220 volt outlet into the wall. The bad news is it would still be at 60 hertz, not at 50, so this whole machine would be running too fast, and it probably would have just eventually burned up the motor and other parts electronics. So I had to get another piece of machinery to convert the 120 volt to 220 at 50 hertz so it will operate properly, and I can show you that. So let's see if I can zoom up here with the light. And you can see this was made in February 1990, and so I was told that might be the this might be the price. I could be wrong on that. Sometimes they can put the price on here. So, but if I was to go here, I don't know if it's going to tell me. It might tell me if I get this thing, yeah, prices. So if you're to be able to do some conversion, you know, from what it was, it's 1300. So you could convert that to US dollars and whichever. So anyway, that's pretty interesting. Made in February 1990, and so I'm going to put this back cover on back on here on the unit here, and then we'll go out and look at seeing about making this thing work. So in case you're wondering, by the way, these are not the original feet that go on this machine. About these feet, wooden feet from a seller on eBay, and they're normally just one whole long piece, but I cut out a section through the middle, and that's where I'm going to be putting this machine at. There's a bunch of cables and wires I'll be passing underneath of it, so I carved out a middle section out, and so the wires can pass through. So These are not the original feet, but I bought these wooden ones and put them on the bottom to help elevate it on up, make it it look just a bit better. But these are the original feet, and they go on the machine. It does kind of elevate up the machine just a bit, but trying to run cables and wires through the middle, it would just not work too good. So there's two of those. So I took these off, so if I need them I can hang on to these. So meanwhile, let's see about going out in the garage, and we'll see if I can find something that will give this thing the correct power and speed. So this arrived the other day ago, and this arrived all the way from Hong Kong, China. This is from a GoHertz.com. It's a 500 watt frequency converter, and so that's where it will take the 120 volt 60 hertz and convert it to 220 volts at 50 hertz. And so this arrived in this really big wooden crate. Wasn't quite expecting that. So let's see. I kind of cut the box open earlier already. So we got the display front panel and the little special sockets. And so then on the other, we also got instructions, which would be good to have. And then we got the cooling fan back there and the cord. So we'll see about taking this out and testing it out. Okay, I brought it upstairs. This thing weighs a good 75 pounds. It weighs, and so I got it up here, got it plugged in, and going to refer to the directions before we proceed any further. And let's see, which by the way, I put that back cover back on. I put that power cord. Plug that back in. So it looks like this is a master power on, so we'll turn that on. So now we know it works, so just a matter of going through the manual here and seeing what all of the different parameters are going to be doing, like the memory and all whichever. So we'll kind of get that figured out. So we have the different memory buttons, and I do know this is off or on. This is the switch for these, so I'm pretty sure right now those are off. So I'll go ahead and read through the directions to kind of get this set up and be right back. And by the way, so I got the cord plugged in. This is the back of it. This is for a computer connection, probably to update the firmware and whichever, maybe look at some other things, which I don't have that. Those are the auxiliary fuses. You get a massive cooling fan. I guess that's on all the time. And then we have this. We got this tag here. It tells you the model number and the capacity and the serial number. Looks like this was made on March 14th of 2018. Probably I'm guessing 704th one they made. Kind of interesting looking at that. So we'll kind of go through the settings here, and we'll be right back. Okay, well, I went through the directions. Not a whole lot to it to get this to set up. I got it set now for 220 volt at 50 hertz. It's now operating at that voltage. I got my little tester thing here, and it's showing 220 right on the money. And so what I would do is, or what I had to do is, I would go to setting, and you have the parameter setting, and then what I would do is I just use little arrows to pick and choose whatever setting I want it to set to, and which is kind of hard doing this when kind of doing both things at once here, but there we go. So there we go. So I'm pressing one of these arrow buttons, and using these arrow buttons I can adjust the voltage to whatever it is I need, and also the cycle. And then if I was to go down here, I can even adjust the time. So it's only a 24-hour setting. And so when I get done with all of that, just go back here. One of the things you'll notice is that the spelling is not really all that accurate. Setting, and that kind of thing. But so you got that, and then also have another screen for abnormal indication, and that's for normal, I guess. And then you have the program setting, and I was reading the directions. It says pretty much just to leave that run mode on cycle, and not to set it to anything else, so won't mess with all of that. So anyway, so that's where we're at. So let's what I'll do is we'll get put my tester away here for a second. And we'll take my special cord here, plug it in. It's still at 220 at 50 hertz. So let's see if this thing's going to power on. And it does. Cool. So now just a matter of seeing if it's going to play some tape. Maybe you can hear some music out of it. So maybe what I'll do is get my my headphone. This is the headphone jack. That's the power, and put my headphone jack in here. Maybe be able to hear some audio from the headphones in the microphone here, and kind of run through some things and seeing how this thing will operate here. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. I got some tape I can put on the machine. Just thought I'd let you know with the Olimpia reel deck on, the schematic mentioned it would require 100 watts, and it's right on the money, about 110, 111 watts, and that's just with the power on, not with the motors running or anything else. So that's well within the limits of this machine. It runs right at 500, and that's only like 110, 112, something like that for wattage, so that's pretty good. So now I put these go to my TIAC X1000R, and these do mount on this machine. Just the little these will pull out and you turn them, and you just put the hubs on there. So let's see about if I can thread this tape. As you can see, it does take a 10-inch reel as well as a 7, and so I thought I would try them both. Let's hope I'm threading this right, because I'm doing this all in one hand. So you can see already that the tape counter is running already, and I'm sure there's buttons over here that will let me select other options for that, or at least reset it. I think I've like I said, this is my first time running this thing, so we'll have to just experiment and see what does with which. And I got my headphones here, and now if I remember right, now this is volume, so we'll just put that up there. And so let's see about rewind. And the converter's running, says it's in rewind, it's right about 330 watts. So we're still okay there. So maybe that'll be enough. Now let's see, now it's running on the slow speed, so I want to put that on high speed. Let's see. Probably don't have something threaded right. So I was hoping that the VUs would show something. Oh, there we go. I think. I had something there. Well, let's see about what the other we'll do with that later. So let's stop and there. So it does do auto reverse. I need to figure out if this will do an automatic auto reverse. But at least that's working. And the converter is still showing a 0.356 amps. So, you know, I could be wrong. I want to say that's like 355 watts, but you know, there's a chance I might be wrong on that. So anyway, so that's good. I wonder what this might. Let's see if I press play. Which I guess it takes a few minutes for the capstan to change direction and come up to speed. So there's a little bit of a lag time on that. So let's pause. Oh, that's a search. And the search operates by one of these over in here. So I guess I gotta hold it down for it to do something, and then it'll play. So that's kind of cool. So I just gotta figure out why there's no audio coming out of it. And I did now when I bought this, I watched a video from the eBay seller, and he did show that the audio was coming out of the machine, but he may have done that through the output, maybe not through through the headphone jack. So it's either that, or I might have some, maybe I might have the tape threaded incorrectly somewhere, so I need to figure that out. So I'll kind of mess with this here, see if I can figure out if I get some audio out of it. Okay, back, and I took the cover off again. I rewound the tape quite a bit further back, and then I pressed play, and then now I finally got audio. So apparently I didn't have the tape rewound all the way far enough. So we now have VUs working at, and this is for the reproduce, so I had to make sure those are pushed in. Because if you know, it turns it off and then on again. And you saw an orange light earlier. That's for record. And then there's some other stuff in there. I'm not sure what I think one of the other little symbols in there is like for I think this one's for microphone, I think. And then you got, I don't know what that is, and if that's like a tape, maybe some kind of a tape thing, and I don't know, I'm not sure what that is either. But anyway, I'm not sure if those will light up or not. But anyway, so that's the speed, and this is for recording. So it turned out I didn't have to, these are for recording anyway, didn't have to mess with those. I know it's hard to hear very well through a headphone, but I'll plug this all into an amplifier and see how it really sounds in stereo. But at least, you know, right now, at least I know it's working in both channels. So that's pretty cool. So what I'll do is I'll take this tape off, and then I'll put on a smaller tape, and then I can also kind of play around with some of these other little buttons and see what they do. Okay, we're back. I was just playing around with the tape player, and before I get into that, I wanted to make a correction. I kept looking at this number every time for the wattage, thinking it was 122 watts. It sounds about right, which is obviously wrong because it says over here wattage. I'm sorry about that. 24.50 watts is what it's supposed to be actually, and the schematic says it requires like 100 watts, and it's probably just been doing that the whole entire time. So this is the correct value. Is running well into the proper range for 500 watts on this thing. So I'm sorry for the confusion and wrong looking at that all the time. I'm supposed to be looking at this. So 24 watts from this unit when it's on and running. And then I was kind of playing around trying to figure how the auto reverse works. You know, I got these, you know, for auto reverse either direction. That's for function, I guess. And so anytime I press one of these buttons, like this is for reset and cancel, then I could press that and I'll just cancel everything out. I can press reset. And anytime I press the F button, you know, it will kind of tend to reset that counter and make it rewind. So there's some stuff in here I'm still not quite exactly sure what they do with all of the numbers, and you know, the owner's manual I have is completely all in Russian, so don't don't have any good way of getting that all translated very well. And other than the auto reverse, I was playing with this, and there's a small sensor right here, and this is infrared, and it's an infrared sensor. You actually can kind of see it in the camera there. You see that blue light. I mean, you can't see that with the naked eye, but with this camera you can. You can see that infrared, you know, right through the tape. And so, or at least it hits the tape, I guess. It shines from here and it's supposed to go to this. And I tried the foil. I tried the little stick-on auto reverse foil, and that would pass through, wouldn't do anything. And finally I started just to experiment. I just, you know, as the like for example, I could press play, and as the tape plays, and I still have this on set for auto reverse. Well, I guess what happens is that anytime I move this completely out of the way, it will stop, and then it will change direction. So right now it switched on over to reverse, so now it's playing the other direction. So in order for the auto reverse to work correctly, I need to probably scrape away a section of this tape to have a clear, piece of the tape here without any oxide or anything else, just to clear a small little area, the small little section of clear cellophane backing, so that this infrared will be able to shine through that clear section and activate the auto reverse. And so definitely learned something new about that, because I just thought that was like a light, you know, a light that was supposed to shine, and not understanding it was infrared. So just like that, even when I turn those off, that's still activated. And then when I move the tape out of the way, it's still setting on that, so it just stops altogether, and that's still on. So that's how the auto reverse works. And so I was kind of playing around with that for a little while on this tape here, a smaller one. So I guess what I'll do is I was also kind of tinkering around with some of these audio buttons here as well, and I was playing around with these correction knobs, and these don't seem to make any difference that I could tell. So the only thing that's left to do is I can hook it all up to the computer and have it run through the larger speakers and see what it sounds like. And by the way, as I'm also finding out on the wattage, like for example, I'm going to be running this in fast forward. I go back over here on the wattage, the correct wattage, looking at 63, 65 watts, you know, well within that range. So if I press play, and I'm probably going to show the same wattage on that. Yeah, which it does. So I have been listening to this tape through the headphones. It does sound really, really nice. But what I'll do is I'll hook this all up to the computer on the bigger speakers, and you should be able to hear it yourself through the camera just a little bit easier than the headphones. So we'll be back in just a little bit. Okay, we're back. I took some time doing some rearranging. I ended up putting this large frequency converter on the floor underneath the desk. It's the only place it's going to go. And so I do have it all plugged in, powered up. I got it all still set correctly. And it does sit up off the carpet with the little rubber feet. But there's no vents underneath there. So it does have plenty of cooling on that side, as well as the cooling fan here. And it's been blowing cool air the whole time I had it turned on, so it's not really drawing anything to make it get hot. And I do have the I got the power cord plugged in. I got my stereo speaker set up here. Did some other rearranging, and so I got that just barely to fit. Not a whole lot of room, and so I got it playing on the stereo. And I found out that this does tend to change the sound. This is kind of more treble, there's nothing, and more bass. So I'll probably just leave it set here. And the other thing I found out was I thought this was the line out knob. It turns out it doesn't do anything. It doesn't affect anything. So it might end up working out that if I have a separate other kind of patch cord plugged into another output in the back of the tape player, then this might work. But otherwise, the way I have it plugged in now for both input and output, it's just going to you know, have a one preset volume control. It's already set inside the machine. So I don't know if I'll get around to having another separate cord to see if this will work or not. I may not mess with it, but so far it does sound good. It is perfectly level and doesn't sound distorted. And then I was wanting to test out the recording, and so I got it plugged in, and in order for it to record, I need to turn that off.
What do you make of this measurement?
When you look at the radiation dose in Tokyo or globally, it would be somewhere between 0.05 to 0.15. So in that respect,
so it does sound good for recording, and there's only one. This controls the line in for recording. It doesn't take much to have a really good strong level for that, and this is just for the microphone input. So so apparently this I thought maybe this volume control might be for the headphones. I don't think there's any difference with that. So it probably operates when I have a separate patch cord just strictly for the output and the back, and so I don't know if I'll mess with that or not. I may just leave it, depending on how well it does with the levels and everything else. So it's working, and I haven't not put a test tape on it to record, but I'm sure with it inputting like it does, it probably works, and I'll get around to doing that another time. But primarily, I'm using this for playback. I probably won't be doing much of any recording at all. And so meanwhile, it's that's it for the time being. And so you can see my very fancy lit all up computer I made built together myself, which is another video for another time. But meanwhile, it's all for now. Give me a thumbs up if you wish to, and I'm sorry for some of the mistakes before, but got them corrected, and I'm sure I'll put the right information on the comments and elsewhere best I can, so you'll have the right information as it happens. And so subscribe if you wish to, and thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another project I'll be working on next. Bye.